Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 95. So we are fast approaching episode 100, which I'm really excited about. It feels like a really fun milestone to celebrate. So, in order to celebrate this milestone, I am doing some giveaways. So, what I'm going to do over the next 5 weeks is invite you to please rate and review the show. If you rate and review the show, which I would really appreciate because it helps this show grow and reach a wider audience. That's just how Apple works. The more people who rate and review and share episodes and shows, the more likely my show is to pop up when someone is searching for a particular topic like spirituality or purpose or motherhood. So, I'm really hoping that you will participate in in these giveaways and these contests so that you can both earn some of these really super fun giveaways and also help the show grow if you really believe in this show. So for the next 5 weeks, if you rate or review the show and then take a picture of it and send it to me, and you can send it to me through email at katie@katiefarinas.com, or you can send it through Instagram. You can DM me. As long as I get a picture of the rate and the review, I will enter you into a raffle to win one of three things: a $10 Starbucks gift card, a free meditation designed just for you and only for you on any topic of your choice, or I can choose the topic for you, and a free breakthrough session with me. So that's a one-on-one coaching session, 45-minute coaching session. So you'll be entered to win one of those three things as long as you rate and review the show and then somehow send me a picture of it. So I'm really excited. I think this is going to be super fun. And I'm excited to, do the meditations, do the coachings, and hopefully you just enjoy a cup of coffee, a free cup of coffee. I happen to love coffee and espresso and any form of cappuccino. Really, it doesn't matter. I love all forms of coffee. So if you're anything like me, hopefully you would enjoy that as well. So please take the time to do that. I would greatly appreciate it. Help the show grow, help the show reach more people, impact more lives. I really believe in this work, and I really want to get it out there to as many ears and eyes as possible. So that's what we have going on for the next several weeks. And on that 100th episode, I'm going to unveil the new cover art and new title of the show. So you will be earning these prizes, these giveaways for the next 5 weeks, and then I will unveil the new show title and podcast art and plan, actually, because the show is, things are changing a little bit around here, as you could probably tell, since I changed my website name and my email and my Instagram, and all things have changed recently. So you can probably guess that there's some changes happening behind the scenes as well. So on that 100th episode, I'll be unveiling all of that as well. But leading up to it, let's have some fun. Okay. All right. So we are here for our next installment of the Find Your North Star mini-sode. We have talked about several different things so far. This is week 3 here on the podcast. Now, if you are one of my yoga students out there and you have been doing this in class with me, a special shout out to you. Hello. Welcome back to the lesson. Learning anything new in life, and especially some of these more complicated topics to wrap your brain around, it takes multiple sessions, right? It takes hearing the same things over and over, because each time you hear it, you're going to get just a little bit more. It's going to make just a little bit more sense. You're going to remember just a little bit more, right? So I encourage my yoga students to, even though they were in the class and received all this information and the meditation in person, to go back and re-listen to these episodes so they could get more out of it. And if you are not in my class and you are just one of my podcast listeners, and I don't mean just, because you guys are near and dear to my heart, but if you don't have the opportunity to be with me in person, I encourage you to listen to these episodes and do these meditations over and over. You can save episodes. I don't know if you know that, but there's a little button you can click. I know at least on Apple Podcasts, there's a little button you can click that saves episodes. And so you can easily go back to your saved episodes and you can re-listen and redo the meditations. So hopefully that's helpful to you. But over the last several weeks, we've been talking about what this series is called, Finding Your North Star. And I realized I probably I assumed maybe that people understood what that meant, but I wanna actually like backpedal here and go back and talk about what does that really mean? Why am I calling this series Finding Your North Star? Well, we all know that the North Star is a very bright star in the sky. But the thing about the North Star is that it's fixed. So it doesn't move in the sky, it stays in the same exact place. And I think it's a really great analogy to use for when we are trying to figure out our own way in this life. That when we have a North Star, just like the navigators and people have been using the North Star to navigate both in the sea and on land for, hundreds, thousands of years before we developed all this very technological and advanced navigational equipment, the North Star was a lot of what they had, right? They had some other things too, but the North Star was a really important part of their navigational equipment because it is fixed in the sky and because it is bright when everything else is dark, right? So if you are trying to navigate in the darkness, and you don't know where you are, you can always turn towards that North Star. And you know that that is true north. When you see that star, you know that's true north. And not only do you know that's true north, but because you know that's true north, you now know where south is and east is and west is, right? So it not only tells you where north is, but it tells you where you are in relation to everything else. And during the day, you might use some other things to navigate because you can see other things around you that might give you clues as to where you are, like maybe where the sun is in the sky or different landmarks you might be aware of. But at night, it's a lot harder because you can't see any of those things. And I think that's another really great analogy for life. When we're lost in our lives, it's like being lost in the dark when you're trying to navigate somewhere geographically. The North Star, when you are lost, is always there. It is always bright. It is always in the same exact spot. And it always tells you where you are in relation to other things, right? So it brings you back to your center. And that's really what we're talking about on this journey, this Find Your North Star series journey is how do I, when I feel lost and unsure of where I am in this life, metaphorically, not geographically, but when I feel metaphorically lost in my life and I don't know where to turn, I can always come back to my North Star, right? My true self that is fixed and never changing and orients me to where I am in my life. Right. And so these 5 topics that we are going to discuss, and this is topic number 3, are all ways of coming back to that center, coming back to your true self and having something to hold on to turn to anchor onto when you feel lost and confused and you need help. And the answers are always within. And that's what we're finding on this series. That's what I'm trying to show you on this series that we're going through. The answers are always within, and it's about accessing them. So we talked about our inner compass. I think that was our first week. And so again, with these navigational analogies, but we all have our own inner compass, right? This inner guide that helps us on this journey, that talks to us, but does so in kind of quieter, softer ways. So we have to learn how to listen carefully and get quiet and tap into it. And we came to understand that that comes from this higher version of ourselves. We have this physical body that we are living in, but really that's not who we are. Really who we are is this soul that has come into this body to have a physical experience. And sometimes the physical experience of life kind of takes over and we lose track of our soul. We lose track of the bigger, more expansive parts of ourselves. And so we have to come back to that. And really, that's where all of our answers lie. That's where the best versions of ourselves will always be. And it's how we learn to navigate the challenges in our lives and grow from those challenges. And so that's our inner compass, right? That's that intuitive part of ourselves. It's the communication we have with our higher selves. We also talked about how we access that. So we have that, we know it's there, we know it's there to guide us through these difficult times, but how do we access it? How do we access that higher version of ourselves, the real us? And where does it live, right? In just like a very logical left brain way of thinking about these things. Like, where is this higher self you're talking about? Where does it exist? And it exists in the quiet and the stillness, in the open awareness. And we did a really beautiful meditation on that, just sitting in open awareness. And open awareness is not easy, guys. Okay. So, all of these concepts that we talk about, or I shouldn't say all, many of the concepts we talk about are simple, but not easy. And there's a very big difference between simple and easy. And open awareness can be really, really hard because it requires us to drop the thinking and be receptive to whatever is happening in and around us without any commentary. No judgment, no evaluation, no naming even, right? Not even naming something, because the moment that you give something a name, you start to have thoughts and judgments on it, good, bad, easy, hard, useful, not useful, right? We just start automatically judging once we start naming something. So sitting in open awareness is really, it's like being a receiver. If you think about, I know this is real old school, but I know my audience is generally around my age. So you're going to know when we had those old school TVs or radios and they had an antenna and they received the signal. That's how, you would move the antenna sometimes when you weren't getting a good signal. So you think about an antenna. An antenna has no thoughts or feelings. It has no judgments. It doesn't think anything is good or bad. It literally sits there and waits to receive a signal from outside of it. And that's what I'm talking about when I say open, receptive awareness. We are attempting, we are doing our best to sit in silence and stillness and allow what is coming from above us, meaning our higher self, to enter our physical body, into our bodies, into our hearts, into our minds, right? We are waiting in open awareness for the messages to come through. And so if you want to think of yourself as an antenna, I think that's a really useful analogy when we're talking about these things that are so, they're so non-physical, really. I mean, that's why I love an analogy, because we take something that seems kind of very up here. You can't, if you're not watching, I'm saying over my head, right? Something out in the ether, and we're equating it to something that you've probably experienced on this physical plane many, many times. And so it makes it easier to understand. So I'll always try to do that for you guys. And if there's ever a time where you're listening to one of my episodes and you're like, Katie, I do not understand what you were talking about, message me, email me, comment on Spotify, right on the show, send me a message on Instagram. I am so happy to clarify, because I know how sometimes these concepts can seem like out of reach and hard to get. So I hope I'm doing a good job breaking it down for you guys. But if you ever have questions, please reach out. So we have talked about, we have this inner guidance. We've talked about the fact that in order to receive it, we need to tap into the real us, which is that open receptivity, and be the receiver, be the antenna, wait for the information to come from our higher selves. The next thing we're going to talk about is finding out, or attempting, dipping our toe into finding out what we really want. What do you really want? This is a difficult question, okay? Because again, there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of enculturation. So what we want may be very influenced by where we live, what our religion is, what country we're in, if we're male or we're female, or if we are firstborn or thirdborn, or if we are married or we are single, right? So there's so many things that seem to impact what we really want. But I'm going to challenge that today and ask you to go beyond the surface, because what you really want is going to be the same no matter, the same for you, not the same for every person, the same for you, no matter whether you grew up in America and moved across the world to another country, or if you were single and then you became married, or if you were poor and then you became rich. It will withstand whatever changes happen in your life, because what you really want is it is attached to this North Star. It is fixed in position. It does not move. It is the essence of who you are. And so what it looks like on the outside may change a bit when your life circumstances change, but the essence of it will remain the same. So let's say you are single and you really desire a relationship. This is just an example. What is it that you are really desiring? Are you really desiring the relationship, or are you really desiring more love, intimacy, and connection in your life? And if you get married and the relationship is not what you would desire it to be, that you don't feel the level of love, intimacy, and connection that you desire, then married, not married, or in partnership, not in partnership, doesn't matter, because what you're really seeking is love, connection, and intimacy. Okay. How about money? Money's another great example. Maybe you grew up in a family that didn't have a lot. There was a lot of scarcity, actual physical scarcity, and a scarcity mindset. There was a lot of fear around that, fear of, are we going to make the rent, or are we going to have food on the table, or the light's going to get shut off? And so you decide, I'm never going to live like that. And you grow up, and now you're an adult, and you have desired to have, financial abundance your whole life. And now you get there, right? You have a solid job, you can pay your bills, you can put food on the table, a roof over your head, you can enjoy vacations, all the things that we think we want. But the real problem, what you really wanted, was not the money. You wanted to feel secure. You wanted to feel safe. You wanted to feel abundant. And if your mindset hasn't changed from when you were a child to now, it doesn't matter how much money that you have. You could be, you could be a millionaire, a billionaire. If you still live in that scarcity mindset, then you will still feel unsafe, and you will still feel a lack of abundance in your life, and you will still feel insecure. You'll still feel all the things that you didn't want to feel and that you thought came from not having enough money. But that's how they originally manifest it. But it wasn't really the money that you wanted. It was what you thought the feeling you thought the money would give you in your life. And so this is the difference, right? This is the difference that I'm trying to explain between what you really want versus what you say you want or you think you want. It's taking it deeper. It's taking the physical thing that maybe you say you desire and then rolling it back and asking yourself, why do I want that thing? Why is that important to me? What am I really, really after when I say I desire that thing? And so that's what we're gonna work on here and now, and we're gonna do it through a meditation. And I want to make sure that we bring awareness to the fact before we start this meditation that we often get stuck in a cycle of not looking at what we want, but looking at what we don't have, right? So health is a great example, and one that I can personally use because it's a struggle I have in my own life, right? So I could look at my health condition and say, I want it to go away, right? I want chronic migraine to disappear and never have another migraine ever in my life. That sounds fantastic. But what I really want is to feel strong, to feel healthy, to feel energetic, to feel like myself, right? To feel like I do on the days that I don't have a migraine all the time, right? I want to feel that all the time. And so when we're trying to figure out what we want in our lives, it's really useful to take those pain points, take the things in our lives that are a source of pain for us, and think about what is it, what would my life look like if I took that thing away? So if I think about chronic migraine and I say, well, I wish it would go away. I wish I didn't have this. It's terrible. It's awful. It's painful. It's exhausting. It's all these things, right? But instead, I say, what would my life look like if chronic migraine went away? I would have more energy. I would feel more like myself on a regular basis. I would be more, clear-minded, because often migraine causes you to be a little foggy-brained. These are the things that I want, right? I want the energy. I want to feel like myself. I want to feel clear-minded. So instead of focusing on the problem, I'm focusing on the opportunity, the exciting opportunities that would arise if this changed in my life. Okay. And then the next part of that, the next step to that, is to turn and look at all the places in my life where that is already happening. So I may turn and look at days where I feel really good and I do feel really energetic and I do feel really like myself. And I really focus on those days. I really enjoy them. I feel a tremendous sense of gratitude for them. I don't take them for granted. And I really try to live in that energy of those experiences. The same with, the love example we were using, right? So if you're seeking more love in your life, whether that's through partnership or some other way, turn around and look in your life. Where are you experiencing love? Are you experiencing it through your relationship with a pet or a close friend or a family member? And really, really focus on where you are experiencing it and feel the deep gratitude for it and live in that energy. And this is how we use our attention and our energy and we focus it like a laser beam and we are shooting it in the direction of what we desire. And it's how we come to really know what it is we desire, right? We take what we don't prefer, what we don't desire, and we say, what would my life look like if that thing didn't exist? Okay, that's what I really desire. And I need to focus on where that exists currently in my life. And that is how I will bring more of it into my life. Okay, so I hope all that makes sense. The world is noisy. It tells you that you should want a lot of things, but I really think that our soul really wants very few things. I think we want love, we want connection, we want meaning and impact. We want to, some way serve the world. And we, of course, want safety and security, right? There's really very few things that the soul is desiring. So often when we are desiring things in the physical world, it comes down to one of those handful of things: love, safety and security, impact, meaning, um, you know, connection, service. These are the things that make our lives meaningful. And we are just, groping in the dark, trying to find them. Like that example, we did the meditation where I think this was episode, and I'll link the previous episodes. They were episodes 91 and 93. Those are our previous episodes in this series, and I will link those in the show notes. But we did a meditation where we were in a room full of beautiful things, and but we were groping around the dark. There was no light, and we were, stubbing our toe and running into things and not realizing that we were surrounded by all this abundance because we couldn't see it. And then the lights came on and all of a sudden we could see all this abundance around us. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the fact that the world tells us all this information's coming in all the time about what you should want. And we're in the dark, we're confused, we're lost because we're not tapped into who we really are at our soul level. But when we do, that's when the light comes on. And that's when we realize, really, there's very little that I want that doesn't fall under these categories. And each thing that I seem to be reaching for is really just trying to fulfill one of these basic needs of my soul. And maybe I don't need to try so hard. Maybe those things actually already exist in my life. And I just maybe want more of them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting more of them. But the best way to create a life that has more of what you want in it is to focus on where it already exists and place all of your attention and energy in that direction. Okay, so we are going to begin our meditation in just a moment. I am going to give you a little bit of time to get yourself settled. Once again, you can be seated. You can lie down somewhere. I do encourage seated or lying down that you have your back nice and straight. If you're seated, you want to make sure that your neck is straight, the crown of your head is pointed towards the ceiling, maybe a little tuck of your chin, just a slight tuck of your chin towards your chest. And if you are seated and you're on the floor and you want to elevate your hips, a straight spine is often easier to come by when your hips are a little bit higher than your knees. So if you've ever taken a yoga class, you've probably heard this before, but to place a pillow, a block, a bolster, something underneath of your sits bones, that really helps just bump up the hips a little bit. The knees can relax down and the spine pretty spontaneously becomes nice and straight. And that nice straight spine, there's multiple reasons for that, but one reason is that when your spine is in really nice alignment like that, it becomes very easy to maintain the seated position for a while. It's almost effortless to sit there with your spine straight like that because it's just balanced. Your spine is nice and balanced, and it doesn't really require much muscular action to hold that. So I really encourage that if you are in the seated meditation to elevate those hips a little bit. Okay, I'm going to give you a little musical interlude to get yourself set up, and I will be back and we will do our meditation. So hopefully you found yourself into a nice comfy spot. We're going to begin dropping into our soul. I invite you to place your attention on your heart center that's located in the middle of your chest. Just breathe in and out of this space, feeling it open and soften. You might feel a little heaviness in the area, or maybe it's nice and light and free. Again, resisting the urge to judge or evaluate or even name. Just being open and receptive and feeling what is in this present moment. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest, and consciously attempting to relax just a little bit more. Maybe letting the muscles of your shoulders relax a little bit. Maybe softening the forehead, around the eyes, or around the mouth. If you're seated, maybe letting the knees fall into the earth just a little bit more, and feeling the weight of your body as it presses down on the surface beneath you. Let's begin to ask ourselves the question, what do I want? What is my deepest desire? What do I really, really want? Just listen without judgment or expectation. You may get the answer here in the form of words, images, or sensations. Or maybe you get nothing, and it comes later. Just allow. Allow this moment to be what it is. Now release the questions and the answers that may have arisen, and trust that the universe will organize the details. Not placing attachment on the outcome, but putting your desire out into the field of infinite possibilities, and trusting that the universe will organize the details. Have faith that if the desire is in your heart and you consistently place your attention on your intention, the universe will deliver in its own way and in its own time. For the next several minutes, we will drop into the silent awareness of our hearts by repeating the mantra for the heart chakra. Yam, yam, yam. Repeat the sound gently. No need to force or work at it. Just allow it to come in its own timing. Yum, yum. Enjoying the pauses between, trusting that the vibration carries its own intelligence and will work on your behalf. I will call you back in a few minutes. your attention has wandered, just bringing it back to the mantra. Yum, yum, yum. Taking note not just of the mantra, but of the spaces in between. Yum, yum, yum. It's time to release the mantra, letting it float away, just returning to the sensation of your breath and the rising and falling of your chest or belly. Remember that when a desire comes from the level of your soul, it comes from your heart, and it's met with the help from the universe to move it forward. You don't need to do any more. You don't need to work harder. You just need to have faith, trust, and focus on all you have in your life that is already what you really desire. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes, taking in the space around you. sitting in stillness for as long as feels good for you. There's no need to rush, go anywhere, do anything in this exact moment. Just allowing for reintegration into the material world. I hope this was helpful and understandable. Remember to always be in touch with me if you have questions, you need clarification, because if you're thinking something, I guarantee you somebody else is too. They have the same question. So be the brave one who reaches out and asks the question. Don't forget about our challenge. Rate and review the show. Send me a screenshot and I will enter you to win either a Starbucks gift card, a meditation that's designed just for you, or a 45-minute breakthrough session with me. All right, guys, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. I hope you're enjoying this series, and we will be in touch again next week. I love you all so much. Bye-bye.